Well, hello people, and welcome back to some more City Skylines 2 coverage. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Time for the 8th Dev Diary, and this one I'm quite excited about. I've been really excited for climates and seasons in particular, ever since Snowfall for Cities 1 came out basically. So really looking forward to seeing this. As always, we'll have a look at the video and then dive into the blog together and see what we can pick out, shall we?
Life in a thriving city can be a whirlwind. Sunny moments of joy and laughter can cloud over as stormier times roll in. It's impossible to forecast. Luckily, the weather in your city
Love how kind of grey it's getting when it's raining as well. That's a really nice weather ambience effect, isn't it?
will be more predictable, as each map has a unique climate with reliable seasonal patterns. Maps in City Skylines 2 are inspired by real-world locations.
Again, I know we covered maps last week, but look at those vistas, how much nicer these mountains are looking, especially when they're all going to be covered in rain and getting snow caps on them. Exceedingly happy about the world visuals, I guess, of Cities 2 compared to its predecessor.
So your city's climate will be unique to that place. The climate dictates how each of the 4 seasons looks.
So I'm pretty sure this is Mountain Valley here. This is one of the maps I'm considering for my first city, just because of how cool the mountains look.
And feels. As one season gives way to the next, the length of the day will change. The amount of sunshine and cloud cover will too.
That's interesting. So the days are actually going to get shorter in the winter, which is really interesting. I didn't think it'd go that deep with its climates and seasons mechanic. Quite interesting, that.
Temperatures will vary.
Just on a related note to that actually, I'm going to assume at some point when Cities 2 mods become fairly active, we're going to get a Cities 2 version of Play It. In terms of changing the day back and forth, especially for recording purposes when content creators like myself want to do cinematics, we want nighttime shots, is that going to really dramatically hurt the simulation when we're manually forcing the days to go ahead? Or is it going to be as meaningless as it is in Cities 1? Not entirely sure. Let me know your thoughts on that, about how changing the time of day with a Cities 2 player, if you like, is going to affect the game. Not quite sure.
And so will precipitation. Why is this so important? Well, weather will impact your city in different ways. Rainy, snowy, and sun-soaked days can pile pressure on your electricity grid. Same for city services, which will need to respond.
So we've heard this before in a previous Dev Diary, pretty self-explanatory. The colder it gets, the more power your sims are going to use to heat themselves, and the warmer it gets, they're also going to turn on air conditioning to cool themselves, so it's going to affect city services, which is cool. And we can also see one of the road maintenance vehicles stopping here as well, although there's about to be a van that's going to fly up his arse here in a second. I wonder how many car crashes that's going to cause.
Like in winter, road maintenance crews power up plows to clear the road network of snow before it causes collisions.
That's cool. See a snow plow here too. Nice to see that that's now included in the road maintenance group rather than a totally separate mechanic.
Services don't respond in time or do what needs to be done. Accident rates can rise with the knock-on effect of overstretching emergency crews. Seasonal weather also affects how people move around your city and where they spend their time. Parks will draw crowds when the sun is out.
Look at this guy here in the gold jumpsuit. That is a bold choice, isn't it? But again, we're seeing some benches and hot dog stands here. The realm of props is perhaps being entered, but again, we haven't had it confirmed, but could be a ploppable park as well.
While restaurants, movie theaters, and other indoor spots will get busy fast when it rains. Of course, extreme seasonal weather can turn life upside down in a flash. You can help your city prepare for natural disasters with disaster control systems.
So, getting some views of the natural disaster stuff here. This isn't something that ever appealed to me in Cities 1, and I doubt will appeal to me in Cities 2 either. But nice shot of what I'm assuming is the disaster shelter, I think it's called, is it?
But there's no stopping them. Your city might experience disasters with a lowercase d. That's when disasters cause traffic accidents that clog road networks.
Is that a woman walking 2 dogs on the motorway? These are definitely highway roads, right? There's there's 70 mile an hour signs up in the top right there. Why is she walking 2 dogs on the highway? And let alone nearly crashed as well. She nearly got wiped out by the accident, what the hell? Surely that's a bug, right? People won't be walking on the highways. I mean, I'm assuming these are highways. They at least look like them, don't they?
Disasters with a capital D are a whole lot more serious. They impact city services and the local economy in the short
So that's interesting. We have weather damage as a new icon that Sims will now whinge about. That's something else we can ignore while we continue to fence detail the area. But the structure has been damaged by bad weather, so that's really interesting.
Short and long term. As a city builder, it's up to you to help your city bounce back.
That's a great shot of New Dalton there, isn't it? Look at that. All those high rises. Really, really pretty.
When nature is a bit extra. But for the most part, seasonal changes will be predictable.
Oh, look at that huge snowy tundra. Oh, amazing. Snowy mountains. I'm exceedingly excited, everyone, for Seasons, if you can't tell. As soon as Snowfall was announced as Cities 1, I was really annoyed that they didn't do a Sims 3 and just make it, you know, Cities Skylines Seasons. It was such an obvious thing to do, but so happy to see Seasons embedded into the base game for Cities 2. It'll be a lot of fun.
Winter will run its course and give way to spring, just as night will follow day. The day and night cycle connects to the calendar. When a day-night cycle ends, 1 calendar month will have passed.
Okay, so that's interesting. 1 day-night cycle equals 1 month, so that would be 12 Cities Skylines 2 days for a full year. That seems like a much more sensible timescale for me. Maybe a little bit short, maybe we'll be able to tweak that. But 12 days for a full year seems alright. 3 days per season, I guess. Could be a little on the short side, maybe. Not sure. Again, it's this sort of stuff you've got to go in and get hands-on before you can decide how you really feel about it, isn't it?
So every 24 hours, a month of the year will have come and gone. The seasons will change after 3 cycles. And after 12 cycles, it's time to start all over again. The citizens of your city will experience life's highs and lows like the shifting seasons. Good times and bad will come and go. By building your city's unique climate, you can create the backdrop for life lived.
Oh, look at that. Oh, wow. Look at the Borealis. Yes, please, everyone. Cities 2 Boreal confirmed. This looks to be that Twin Fjords map. You can kind of see all these finger ridges spanning out into what I'm assuming is a fjord based on the name of the map. But look at that. How nice is that compared to like Cities 1 Vista base game as well? No mods at work here either. Just very pretty. Very happy with the landscape and the climates that are being shown here.
Its fullest.
So that is it. Interesting to get some information on that. So let's jump into the blog now and see if there's anything to unpick there, shall we? So the blog starts out here by telling us that in Cities Skylines 1, the way that maps looked was dictated by themes, which of course we know. However, in Cities Skylines 2, that whole theme system as we know it has now been replaced by climates, which will bring changes to seasons to the game, making each map a unique gaming experience with its own climate that is based on real-world locations, ranging from Finnish countryside in the north to Brisbane in the south. And climate will control our changing season, the length of the day, and the weather patterns so they match the season. Then, great shot here again of sun setting over, a really pretty shot from what looks like a boat. And enjoy the unique atmosphere of each map and their climate. So I believe that each of the climates is not kind of a preset template, they're tailored for each map, which is going to be really interesting if map makers can make custom climates for every map that they're going to make. That could lead to some really interesting climates, I guess, some possible fun gameplay challenges in there as well. For example, if it's, you know, constantly snowing or constantly pissing down, people are going to need to be heating their homes all the time. So climates are based on the latitude and longitude, resulting in differences in the length of day and the amount of sunlight, as well as other elements such as the temperature range, the amount of cloud coverage and precipitation that a map will get. So didn't really expect it to be this in-depth at all. And these parameters will mean that all maps will introduce different climates with 4 distinct seasons. So maps based on the temperate climate have distinct seasonal changes, moderate precipitation and a wide temperate range, while maps on the continental climate will introduce significant annual variations in temperature. And lastly, we have the polar regions, which feature a short and cold summer and long-lasting cold winters. You may recognise which category a map falls into based on its displayed temperature range, but as climates are customised for each map, you will experience significant differences between maps that fall into the continental group. That's really interesting. That's going to make each of the maps a lot more playable, I think, because you're in for a slightly different experience in terms of how the weather, the climate, and the seasons are going to simulate. We also get a fun fact that many maps' climates are based on real-world locations. For example, River Delta is based on Shanghai, and Lakeland on the Finnish city of Savonlinna. Am I pronouncing that right? I hope so. Weather is closely tied to the climate and represents the climate's seasonal changes. Each map features unique weather, which changes with the simulation. You can encounter various intensities of rainy weather, different cloud coverage, temperature changes, etc. Again, another great shot of a moody New Dollarton here from the boat. So interesting here, it says that Sims prefer to stay indoors on a cold or rainy day. I wonder how much that's going to affect the economy, because of course we know the economy is much more involved and simulated now, with people having to simulate their paths and where they're going to go in that day and where they're going to spend their money and their different wages. It's much more in depth now. So if the climate is going to force people to stay indoors if it's always raining, does that mean that rainy cities are going to have a much harder time with their economies? Be interesting to see if that's how it pans out. So the weather has gameplay effects. For example, temperature and the amount of rain or sun will affect citizens' behaviour when they are deciding if they want to use a park or indoor leisure activities. Citizens prefer indoor activities when the temperature is low, of course, and the temperature also realistically affects the city's energy consumption. With hot weather increasing energy consumption as people need aircon, and likewise when it's cold they need to keep warm, so electricity is going to spike in those scenarios. With both a day and night cycle and seasons at release, Cities Skylines 2 handles time different than its predecessor. So one cycle through the day and night equals 1 month in Cities 2, and each season lasts about 3 months, so 3 days, with 1 year in-game taking 12 in-game days. The length of the night cycle is based on the map's climate and current season, with nights being longer during the winter, and as the sun sets, the building lights. So that sounds like the day-night cycle isn't toggleable like it was in Cities 1. That's going to be quite interesting, because I know a lot of people don't like playing during the night just because you can't really see that well. Me personally, I do like nighttime stuff. It's not great for recording because it just makes the video generally darker, but I still enjoy playing the nighttime. But if it's this involved in the simulation, it sounds like it's not going to be a toggleable option anymore. You will have to experience the day-night cycle now. That isn't me confirming that, by the way. This is just an assumption. So seasons will affect more than just the amount of sunlight in a day though. Depending on the climate, temperature changes over the course of the whole year, as does the chance of rain and cloud coverage. During our colder months, snow falls and covers the grounds of maps with climates that include cold seasons. When there is snow, the road maintenance buildings snowplows will take care of snow on the roads, keeping road conditions to reduce the risk of accidents, of course. Hopefully Sims not taking their dogs for a walk on the motorway will also reduce the risk of accidents. The map's location will also play an important role when it comes to seasons, as cities located in the southern hemisphere will experience the seasons at opposite times of the year compared to those in the northern hemisphere, which is really interesting, isn't it? You know, if you're planning to play along with a series, because I know a lot of you do that with mine, if you go for a different latitude map than me, then our entire seasonality will be flipped on its head, which could lead to builds developing totally differently, because if it's super cold in my map compared to somebody else's, then I'm going to need to build a lot more energy and heating infrastructure compared to the person that is in a warmer climate. So really interesting. It's quite exciting. Image of a city with snow is truly beautiful. Really love that shot there. Like in Cities Skylines, the game speed is adjustable with 3 speed options to choose from, as well as the option to pause the game at any time. When the game is playing at normal speed, the in-game day is a bit over an hour in real life, and at the highest speed, the game is 1/3 of normal speed in real life. So now we'll come into disasters. Again, not something that overly interests me, but we'll have a little scan over what's happening here. So they will, of course, contribute to traffic jams and traffic accidents and whatnot as they happen. Of course, you would imagine a tornado might cause a little bit of damage. Interesting though that natural disasters are now logged into the event journal. I guess that gives them a little bit more, I don't know, a bit of a way to remember them, as if the city's actually been through something, if it's documented and logged as a historical event like natural disasters are in the real world. I don't know, in Cities 1 they kind of felt a bit like fleeting moments, like, oh look, a tornado, oh well, let's just kind of get on with the day. But if they're going to kind of log them now, and the journal will include past events in chronological order about what happened, when it happened, and what the outcome was, I feel like that might make natural disasters a little bit more, I don't know, interesting from my perspective at least. But we will have forest fires, which is fair enough. You know, we had forest fires in Cities 1. The forest will catch fire and spread, and you can counteract this and prepare for them by placing fire watchtowers. There's nothing overly new here. But what is new is a hailstorm. So when the weather is cold but not freezing, there is a possibility of a hailstorm occurring. Hail will cause physical damage to buildings but does not destroy them. So I'm guessing that's what we saw earlier, wasn't it? With that building damaged by severe weather warning, I think it was, wasn't it? Damaged buildings need to be repaired after the storm, and the money and resources for those repairs comes from the residents. Taking away means that would usually go to building upkeep and levelling. A hailstorm can also cause traffic accidents, of course, which will interrupt traffic flow. And then we do also have the tornado, which is the most extreme. So it looks like meteors and earthquakes have been removed from the natural disaster scenario, I guess. I'm surprised they've removed earthquakes and replaced it with hailstorms. I feel like with the new longitude and latitude system they're going for, earthquakes would have been a cool thing to leave in. But, you know, who am I to talk? I don't play with natural disasters anyway, so I don't particularly care, but just an observation. And indeed, that does conclude the development diary on climates and seasons. So very short and sweet, but really interesting. Nice to get some actual visual footage around New Dollarton, of course, of all the climates and seasons in action. Really cool. Some concerns from today's footage is that the trees have no snow effect on them at all. Now, I know in Cities 1 that was the total polar opposite. You couldn't detail at all with trees or greenery. In Snowfall, it was abysmal. It always had these tragic little white bushes everywhere. But also in here to see no snow on the trees at all when it's actually snowing is a little strange. Hopefully that's just a missing texture. And also we didn't really see any autumnal footage, no trees turning to shades of orange, brown, red and gold, if you like, which is a little concerning. I hope that that is going to happen, because if you're going to do seasons and you don't pay respect to autumn of all of them, then you're fucked up. I think the fact as well that each of the maps is going to have its own unique climate and it's not just copy and paste depending on its latitude is going to be really interesting and lead to quite a lot of us having different gameplay experiences, I think. I'm really happy to see some of the maps in the snowy look as well. I think Mountain Valley at the start of the trailer was looking extremely snowy, wasn't it? I think that's going to be my first map, but of course I have to get in and play first. Really cannot wait. I want to get my hands on Cities 2 now so we can play it. But let me know what you think of it. Is there anything here that's really warmed your soul, or anything here that's really chilled your heart, I guess, if you'll enjoy the climate and seasonal puns? Let's keep that Cities 2 conversation going down below. I will see you again next week, and I will leave you with the trailer again now. But otherwise, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day.
Life in a thriving city can be a whirlwind. Sunny moments of joy and laughter can cloud over as stormier times roll in. It's impossible to forecast. Luckily, the weather in your city will be more predictable, as each map has a unique climate with reliable seasonal patterns. Maps in City Skylines 2 are inspired by real-world locations, so your city's climate will be unique to that place. The climate dictates how each of the 4 seasons looks and feels. As one season gives way to the next, the length of the day will change. The amount of sunshine and cloud cover will too. Temperatures will vary, and so will precipitation. Why is this so important? Well, weather will impact your city in different ways. Rainy, snowy, and sun-soaked days can pile pressure on your electricity grid. Same for city services, which will need to respond. Like in winter, road maintenance crews power up plows to clear the road network of snow before it causes collisions. If city services don't respond in time or do what needs to be done, accident rates can rise with the knock-on effect of overstretching emergency crews. Seasonal weather also affects how people move around your city and where they spend their time. Parks will draw crowds when the sun is out, while restaurants, movie theaters, and other indoor spots will get busy fast when it rains. Of course, extreme seasonal weather can turn life upside down in a flash. You can help your city prepare for natural disasters with disaster control systems, but there's no stopping them. Your city might experience disasters with a lowercase d. That's when disasters cause traffic accidents that clog road networks. Disasters with a capital D are a whole lot more serious. They impact city services and the local economy in the short and long term. As a city builder, it's up to you to help your city bounce back when nature is a bit extra. But for the most part, seasonal changes will be predictable. Winter will run its course and give way to spring, just as night will follow day. The day and night cycle connects to the calendar. When a day-night cycle ends, one calendar month will have passed. So every 24 hours, a month of the year will have come and gone. The seasons will change after 3 cycles. And after 12 cycles, it's time to start all over again. The citizens of your city will experience life's highs and lows like the shifting seasons. Good times and bad will come and go. By building your city's unique climate, you can create the backdrop for life lived to its fullest.